He is one of only 100 U.S. senators, and unlike many of his colleagues on the other side of the aisle, he is using his power and influence to hold government accountable for you. Now, Senator Rand Paul's newest book exposes how the government is bullying you, the American people, and he details in great length how President Obama is standing idly by as the feds are trampling on your rights as an American citizen. Joining me now is the author of the brand new book, Government Bullies, How Everyday Americans Are Being Harassed, Abused, and Imprisoned by the Feds, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. Good to see you, Senator. How are you?
Hey, Sean. Thanks for having me.
We are being bullied. We're being bullied with regulation, confiscatory taxation, and then being hit in the head after we pay half our income in taxes with we don't pay our fair share.
Yeah, we actually tell the actual stories of people put in prison. There was a guy named John Potsky, came here to escape communism and the Soviets in Hungary, came for freedom in our country. We put him in jail for 3 years, and do you know what he did? He put clean dirt on dry land, and they said, you know what, dirt is a pollutant and dry land is a wetlands.
Unbelievable.
And that kind of stuff shouldn't happen in America.
But it is happening, and this is what you're chronicling. Did you hear about the case today? There was a couple, and they found these gold double eagle coins from, what, 1939, I think is the year. Right. And they're worth like $80 million. Now, the court case, it was in because they had, I guess, confiscated them or asked people to turn them in. FDR. But they had the 10 coins or whatever it was, and they said, no, we're taking them. And you don't get a penny.
Well, it's sort of like the Nazis taking paintings from Jewish families during the war and saying, oh, well, you don't get them back. Well, they're yours. They're still yours, even if they find it 60 years later.
Yeah, they say, well, there must have been some criminal intent here by what, the grandfather, the father?
We never changed some of those laws, unfortunately, some of the gold confiscation. Some of it we allow gold ownership now, but it's a mistake that we never reversed some of the law.
I watched you very closely in your speech at the Republican convention, and I found it interesting because I agree with you. We've got to cut out the waste, fraud, and abuse. You talk specifically about the military. I'm worried that the world's about to blow up with the Muslim Brotherhood, Egypt, North Africa, Iran. Is this the time to be gutting defense the way we are?
Well, I wouldn't gut defense, but what I would say is that the primary function of the federal government is national defense. So you and I agree completely. That is the number one preeminent thing we do in Washington. It's in the Constitution. It's what we're supposed to do. But that being said, the compromise we have now is we always increase military spending, we always increase welfare spending. The reverse compromise has to happen. You have to reduce military spending. That's how you get a compromise. And you have to reduce domestic spending. But you do it without compromising your national defense. You choose weapon systems not as work programs, but whether you need them for your national defense.
What about the way the president is now trying to frame the debate? $10 in cuts, $1 in tax increases. Romney won't even go for that.
What I've learned is Washington is a shell game. So like he was going to pay for Obamacare with student loan money, but then the student interest he reduced, and that was the money that was supposed to pay for Obamacare.
What about the so-called $4 trillion in savings? It turns out it's not at all. They're counting money that they weren't going to spend anyway, $1 billion on wars that were ending.
If you wanted to explain to somebody in one sentence why Obamacare will be a disaster, Medicare has 50 million people. No. It's $35 to $40 trillion short. He wanted to insure 45 new million people with Obamacare, and it's not going to cost you anything and it won't add to the debt. Yeah. It's impossibility.
It's impossible. Math doesn't add up. How do you feel this campaign is going at this moment? And what advice would you give Governor Romney? And I'm a little worried about Virginia because they got a constitutional candidate running in that state that might grab some of your dad's libertarian supporters.
If I were Governor Romney, I would say put the image of people booing God, the Democrat National Convention delegates booing God. Images are worth 1,000 words. People still remember Dukakis looking silly in that tank. I think people booing God just doesn't look really.
It's not going to resonate in the country.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I agree with you.
It doesn't resonate. In Virginia, I think what Governor Romney needs to do is he needs to tell people who might vote for the Constitution Party that he will be resolute on balancing the budget. Not in 20 years, not in 30 years, but in a shorter period of time, that he will be fully behind a balanced budget amendment, that he will help people like me who want to introduce it, like Mike Lee and Jim DeMint, who've been working hard for a balanced budget amendment. If he comes out and says he will do those things, they will be persuaded to vote for him.
And you'd go into Virginia to campaign for Governor Romney over the...
Yes, we've offered to campaign for him, and we're working on trying to figure out a time.
All right. Government Bullies, great book. Enjoyed it.
Sean.
Thanks, Senator. Good to see you again.